Hello Book Munchers, and welcome back to my YouTube channel. Today we are going to be answering the TBR tag questions. Those are the to be read tag questions, which you probably already you're probably familiar with already. So yeah, a little side note before we get into the questions. This is my physical TBR. Most of these books are pretty old in terms of, you know, they're not new releases, and I got them a couple of years ago, most of them, if not, you know, more than a couple of years ago. So they're not new releases or anything like that, but I do want to get through these first before I start buying any of the new releases or books or series that have come out in the last couple of years. But I already have a running list of books that have come out that are new releases that everybody's talking about, and I'm putting them all in a list so that I get to them eventually. So if you have a series that you want me to read or that you loved that came out in the last couple of years, leave a comment down below and I will add them to the list. Some books that I've already added to the list are The Poppy War by R.F. Kuang and A Discovery of Witches by Deborah Harkness, I believe. So those are some of the books. I only really have like 6 right now. I'm still kind of binge watching a lot of BookTube and taking book ideas that everybody's kind of been talking about and adding them to the list. Ones that seem really interesting to me. Most of them are fantasy, because that's my jam. So anyway, now that that's out of the way, let's get into some questions. Question number 1. How do you keep track of your TBR pile? My TBR pile is right here and right here. So these two shelves. It's pretty easy. I don't really have an order to them other than I just buy them and then I leave them on here. You can tell that I have a lot of books on my TBR because I've started to put them on the edge instead of being able to put them into the actual shelf. So yeah, there's that. Sometimes if I buy like a series, so like if I read a synopsis of a book that's in a series and I say, hey, you know, this kind of seems right up my alley, I will buy a second book as well, just so that I don't have to like go out and search for the second book if I read the first book, because it usually only takes me a day. So I put them next to each other, and so most of this shelf is 2 books in a series. And I just do that, and then most of this shelf is just single books, and these are older than these. These are more modern. These are books that came out in like 2013 and things like that. These are books that are either classics or I bought when I was really young, or yeah. So that's kind of like my whole ordering system. Yeah. Next question. Is your TBR mostly print or ebook? Most of my TBR is print. There are, however, I think a lot of ebooks that I'd like to read. I just haven't looked at my ebook books in a while. Like the whole thing, I usually just get new books with my Kindle Unlimited subscription. I only look at like the top 10 books that I'm reading. My cat's meowing. Just ignore that. But yeah, so more print than ebooks. But I'm hopefully gonna get through all of these before I get to the ebooks. Yeah. Next question. How do you determine which book from your TBR to read next? It's pretty random. I kind of just hover in front of the shelves and I just go, and then I pick the one that calls out to me the most. Unless somebody recommends the book to me, in which case it immediately jumps to like the top of my TBR list. In fact, a lot of the books, especially the non-fiction books on my November TBR pile, which is right here behind me, that's the next video, by the way, a lot of those books have been recommended to me. So yeah, that's how my choosing goes. It's pretty random. Next question. A book that's been on your TBR list the longest. Ooh, I'm gonna have to turn around for this one. Excuse me. I think it has to be these two. I'm gonna grab them. Oof, they're heavy. These two books are vampire story books, both of them, because I bought them when I was really young, and I think it was like right when Twilight came out for like the first time, and I was like became obsessed with vampires. Also, at the time we were watching the Vampire Diaries. It was when that first came out as well. So yeah, vampires were a huge thing, and these two books were bought for me, obviously, because I was like, oh man, I must have been like 8 or 9 years old. I was really young. I think I got this one first, and then the other one was given to me. They both were given to me by the same time. Anyway, so this book is Vampires, Wine, and Roses, which, I love the title. And it's got this like really cool like engraved cover with like skulls and roses and stuff. I love it. Yeah. And so this is basically a collection of short stories, I think, or just a collection of stories that are all about vampires. So a lot of them are romances, some of them are thrillers, so on and so forth. Some of the writers, and there's a list of writers on the back here. Some of the writers are Anne Rice, William Shakespeare, Edgar Allan Poe, Sir Arthur Conan Doyle, Stephen King. So those are sort of the authors that you find in here. There's a whole list. But yeah, so the next book is Anne Rice, The Vampire Chronicles. This book, I think, is the oldest book on my TBR. Older than this one. It's a collection of 3 novels, I believe. It's called The Interview with the Vampire, Lestat, and The Queen of the Damned. And so this one is, I haven't read either of these, mostly because, well, number one, this seems a bit too adult for the age that I was when I got these. But mostly for this book is, I mean, it's huge and it's heavy, and I don't think I would have been able to even like carry it. Yeah, but I was like obsessed with vampires, so yeah, they were given to me. I'd love to read them now that I can actually lift the book from the shelf that it's on, barely. But yeah, I'm gonna put these back now. So those two are my the oldest books on my TBR. Next question. A book that you recently added to your TBR. Okay, so this one is on my November TBR, which is right here. This book, right here. This is written by Dr. Enrique Paez, who's a PhD in writing. So this book it's basically kind of like the science of writing, and he breaks down writing in a bunch of different genres and the kind of tropes and basically how to write in any genre. Yeah, so the thing is, this book is in Spanish, and I've only recently learned how to read in Spanish. I mean, I've always been able to speak Spanish, it's my first language, but I never had to go to school in Spanish, so it was only this last year, like not 2020, but like 2018 into 2019, or no, 2019 into 2020. That was my first uni year, and the first year I took all my Spanish courses, and so now I can read Spanish. So I added this one to the list, and I'm really excited. And basically what I'm going to do, and I'm going to talk more about this in my next video, which is going to be my November to be read. I'm going to basically paraphrase all the tips and tricks for you in English from Spanish into English. So yeah. He also has a YouTube channel, so check him out if you understand Spanish. And if you don't, well, stick around because I'm gonna be attempting to translate things that I think are interesting. Anyway, so that's that book, and it's the most recent one on my TBR. Next question. Let's see. A book in your TBR strictly because of its beautiful cover. Ooh. I don't think there's anything on here that I've picked out just because of the cover, but the most beautiful book on here, and actually the most beautiful book that I own, period, is this one. It's my copy of Las Mil y Una Noches, which in English is called The Arabian Nights, and this is in English, thank goodness. So check this book out. It's blue, and it's got this very Arabic mosaic pattern on all sides. Yeah, this is a classic. Spoiler warning if you need one for a classic. But anyway, this story is about this woman who gets married to this man who's kind of like infamous for killing his wives. And so in order for her to survive, she comes up with this idea of, like, before going to bed, she's going to tell him bedtime stories. And what she does is she doesn't finish a bedtime story until she has bedtime stories that are still, like, ongoing. So they kind of get wrapped into each other, and basically he can't kill her because he wants to know how the stories end. And there's 1,001 of them in this book. I think that's the general gist of it. So this was bought to me as a gift by my mom, and she dedicated it to me, and it's also really awesomely, it's very fancy. You know, it's just got these nice borders and illustrations all throughout. So yeah, really excited to read this at some point. Yeah, this is the most beautiful book that I own. It also has gold sides, which never go wrong. Next question. A book on your TBR that you never plan on reading. Ooh, I think I might have some. Let's check this out. Nothing on this shelf. I think I'm gonna get to everything on this shelf. But considering the most old, like the older ones, I gotta say the one that I'm probably definitely not going to touch again is, although I kind of started reading it, The Great Gatsby by Scott Fitzgerald. This is my mom's copy because I didn't want to buy it again. This was assigned as a recommended summer assignment for an English class, and it was right before I entered 10th grade. And I started reading it, and I think I just got so bored that I was just like, count me out. And because it was recommended, it wasn't obligatory, I was just like, you know what, I'm just not gonna read it at all. So yeah, I have no idea how far I got. I know I was still in the beginning, but it's pretty thin either way. Yeah, I just, not my jam. This one's not my jam. And so yeah, I did not read it. But if you did read it and you liked it and you think I was wrong to let it go, leave a comment down below, and I might maybe take a second glance at it, but it's probably unlikely. Anyway, next question. An unpublished book on your TBR that you're excited for. I have no unpublished books on my list, other than like my own works that I have to like read and edit, but that's not really like, oh, I'm excited to read it. It's like I have to edit it and maybe even rewrite the whole thing, especially the novel that I'm reading right now, which, by the way, I have 2 scenes to write before I'm done with it. I can't believe it. But because it has taken me several years to write, I actually have to go back and rewrite the whole thing to make sure that it's all in, like, it's all up to the skill set that I have right now. And it's all in the same tone, right? So, yeah. That's the only unpublished. Hopefully in the future I'll have some unpublished works in my library, maybe. We'll see how that goes. fingers crossed. Okay, but other than that, let's get into the next question, which is a book on your TBR that basically everyone's read but you. Oh my god, there's one. I know it's in here, and so let's see. I think it's one of these two. Yeah, I think it's this one. And I realized, okay, so let me tell the story. I went to the bookstore and I bought this book. It wasn't, like, nobody was talking about it at the time, so I kind of got shunted off to the side while I read other books. And then several years later, I was watching on Hulu the series that came from this book. I had no idea, like I missed the connection. I watched a couple of episodes and I stopped. I was really interested in the storyline, and I can talk about in another video why I stopped watching the series pretty early on. I don't know if I should continue. I mean, I obviously probably should read the books first. And then one day I was like looking at my my books and I saw the book and I was like, oh my god, that's the, like, this is the book that connects to that series. It's based on this book. I only have the first one, and it's called, y'all will know this one, it's City of Bones by Cassandra Clare, which is the first book in the Immortal Instruments series, which it's become a tag, and everybody's been talking about it and everybody loves it, and I hear a bunch of good things about it, and it's a big series, I think. It's got several different books. The Shadow Hunters, that's the name of the show, I think, Shadow Hunters, right? So yeah, and everybody has read this book but me. So I'm excited. I only have the first book. I'm excited to read this. This is in my TBR. I'm definitely going to get to it at some point. And yeah, that's one book that everybody's read but me. Hopefully I'll get to reading it soon though. Next question. A book on your TBR that everyone recommends to you. I think it's just the same answer. It's that one, but let me see if there are other ones. Oh, this one. This is one. The Girl in the Clockwork Collar. I've seen this recommended several times. This is by Katie Cross. Yeah. And so it's a steampunk series. Is what it says on the cover. The Steampunk Chronicles. Or maybe that's just the name of the series. I don't know. But yeah, that's on my TBR as well. Put these back. I've seen several people mention that one. Other than that, I know that both of those are pretty old, but yeah. Anyway, next question. A book on your TBR that you're dying to read. Ooh, it's this one. It's already on my November TBR, and this is my next video, so stay tuned for me to talk about these books. But it's the name of the book is Merlin, and it's the first book in the Lost Years series by T.A. Barron. I'm dying to read this book. It's been on my TBR for the longest time, for a lot of years now. And I just haven't gotten around to reading it, but I'm obsessed because I love everything that's like Arthurian legend and Merlin and dragons and magic and wizardry. I'm just like obsessed with those legends. They're like the pinnacle of fantasy. Like, what else would you need or want, right? So I've been really excited to read that one. I also have another Arthurian book on my list, and it is The Story of King Arthur and His Knights by, I could probably pull it out and read the name, by Howard Pyle. So yeah, that's another book that I'm interested in reading. Both of those are in my November TBR. Yeah, these two books that I mentioned, The City of Bones and The Girl with the Clockwork Collar, are probably going to be in my December TBR. But we'll see what happens. Yeah. Next question. And also the last question. Hey, how many books are on your TBR shelf? Oh, well, I don't think I'm going to count them, but it's got to be like, oh, let's see, like 40? 60? Yeah, between those. We'll go for a 50. Nah, it's probably closer to 60, honestly. especially with my ebooks added to the mix. Well, if we're adding my ebooks, it might be closer to like 100. But I have no idea. We'll just go with a nice solid 50. How about that? But yeah, so I plan to get through those within the next couple of months, and then I can start buying more books or using my Kindle Unlimited subscription, which is awesome, and I can talk about that in a different video. It's like Netflix for books. Well, it's not. Well, it's the whole thing, because you gotta borrow the book. It's not really yours, but it really is awesome to just kind of go on a reading spree, without having to pay for every book. I just pay like a subscription amount. But yeah, and I can talk about that in a different video. I think that's it. So that's it for the TBR tag. We're done. And I hope you enjoyed. You obviously did. Hopefully. Fingers crossed. So leave a like down below if you liked the video. Subscribe and hit the bell icon to be notified when I release the next video, which is going to be me talking about the books I'm going to read in November, which is awesome. Do all those things to appease the YouTube gods that rule our existence. Thank you very much. And I will see you guys in the next video. Keep on munching on those books. I will keep munching on mine. And I'll check in next time.